Hi there, my name is Caleb Semler, and this report is Humans Are Not the Cause of Global Warming, and this is for the University of Arizona. Let's go ahead and look at the facts here. While conducting research on the impact of carbon dioxide on the environment, I came across multitudes of information which led me to hypothesize a contradictory viewpoint on global warming and the effects of humans on the environment. The information has been around for quite some time, however, not many people took too kindly to the idea of contradicting the assessment of published scientists for fear of public scrutiny. These days, more people are questioning the claims of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is known as the IPCC, than ever before, and journals which maintain their political neutrality are confronting the issue. There may be many causes as to why this information was not listed in popular magazines or news articles, but this paper will cover the most obvious reasons why we as humans are not to blame. It'll also cover the misrepresentation of data, the correlation between our warm spell and our sun cycles, the specific information on what exactly carbon dioxide is and how it benefits us, and most importantly, the possible motives of why the corroboration of global warming evidence against us as human beings has been so prevalent among the scientific community. Ultimately, we should be able to conclude that without a doubt there is no proof that we as human beings are to blame for the climate change. The role of the International Panel on Climate Change, referred to as the IPCC, is to assess the scientific, technical, and socioeconomic information relevant for understanding of the human-induced climate change, according to their website. Unfortunately, the only literal proof that they have is their computer models, which in turn is loosely based on one singular property of CO2 as a greenhouse gas, which contains inconsistencies in data, and it's been purposely misrepresented with the intention of speeding up government legislation. There are quite literally hundreds of peer-reviewed articles on how the falsification has gone about. However, I refuse to concentrate solely on the inaccuracies of the data within this report. Let's take a look at who's been working with the reports and how these scientific reports came about. According to Lauren Gunter, who's a writer for the National Post, the lead author of the IPCC report turns out to be Sven Teske, a Greenpeace climate and energy campaigner who the IPCC does not identify as such in either the report or its media releases. Mr. Teske is also the author of much of the Greenpeace material in which the IPCC report is based, in effect making him a peer reviewer of the validity of his own material. I can definitely see how this conflict of interest might serve to cripple the pursuit of science, especially when someone is picketing for their own cause. In addition, if there are only government grants specifically supporting the research of global warming, isn't this also a conflict for the pursuit of science? In the end, it means quite literally that unpopular ideas will be unfunded and will further cause those discoveries which do not support the IPCC's agenda to be cast by the wayside and forgotten. The misunderstandings of what carbon dioxide is will lead us into an area of science where we don't want to be. When we breathe out, we exhale CO2. It is in no way a pollutant, but has been made out to be the enemy in today's society. What people don't know is that the world's CO2 gas is estimated at a 0.0397%. That's in decimal form 0.00397, which is very, very small. If we were to compare that statistic with our world population, it would lead to the entire world population complaining that an estimated one other person exists on the face of the earth. In the international crop community, it is common practice for greenhouses to be pumped with 1,000 parts per million of CO2 in order to yield a significantly larger portion of crops. We're talking 40 or even 60% increases. What if I told you I know how you could make 60% more money each paycheck? That is essentially the benefit of CO2 to farmers, and it happens all because of something the IPCC deemed as a pollutant. Notice this figure here, how the crops show no loss of yield throughout the studies, and every single crop has posted a gain. What's even more interesting is that since plants don't perspire as much while being subject to large amounts of CO2, it actually postpones the effects of drought. Imagine the implications of CO2 in areas of the world that regularly experience a drought, such as the southwestern United States. With as little CO2 as 0.0397% affecting our atmosphere, then what can we attribute our warming to? First of all, the warming since the 1800s has only increased slightly. In the larger scope of things, we had just recently undergone an ice age, and we're still in the process of getting colder. It's only the past 200 years that temperatures have gone up a matter of 2 to 3 degrees Celsius. The answer to our question may well have been in front of our faces the whole time, in the form of the sun. The sun itself undergoes massive changes from year to year and fluctuates with intensity and sunspot locale. Although sunspots are not the only thing that dictate the intensity of the heat, it definitely seems to correlate on the graph that you see before you. The cycle length directly corresponds to temperature anomalies, and the temperature is only changing 0.7 degrees Celsius. Keep in mind, there's still variation in the numbers, but those are easily explainable as part of a system. There's way more to the sun than just cycle length influencing the temperature. There's Milankovitch cycles, which occur over thousands of years that have to do with the change in the Earth's orbit, which impacts the amount of energy that our planet receives from the sun. There's eccentricity, which makes the Earth's orbit around the sun into more and less of an oval every 100,000 years. The Earth's axis itself is not completely fixed, allowing for a small variation on the degrees of tilt every 23,000 years as well. If you take into account all of these minor changes, you can easily come up with an educated hypothesis on why the data chart posted before you is not 100% accurate in correlation with cycle length and temperature. After all, we do have an ecological system which has balances to counteract excessive gases, even in our atmosphere. With all of these facts supporting a thesis of a natural climate control mechanism, it's very hard to listen to the IPCC after all the political motives start surfacing. The Kyoto Protocol has long lingered in the pockets of the U.S. currency holders. It seems that the ramifications of accepting global warming falsehoods would also lead us to incur a $400 billion reduction in U.S. economic output, while not affecting the temperature of the Earth. While sifting through hundreds upon hundreds of scholarly sources in support of global climate variability and not change, I found that the IPCC has every reason to support monetarily based motives in dealing with the international community. The reason for the rise in 2 degrees temperature directly correlates with the cycles and stages of our sun. Carbon dioxide is not a pollutant, but actually increases the growth rates of all plants collectively. And the data used to foresee global warming has been tampered with and distorted to the point where it holds no scientific value. In conclusion, I cannot say that we as human beings have made such an impact on our environment as to change the climate in any way whatsoever, much less in an adverse way as suggested by those who hold political affiliations with groups who manage to change raw data in their attempts to sway the masses. Thank you.